relationship between Tony and Dr. Melfi is crucial to The Sopranos, as its importance serves a great purpose to the series' plot and overall storyline. And almost every episode features a therapy session between the two characters. And throughout The Sopranos, we have certainly seen therapy get the best of Tony.
You know, sometimes what happens in here is like taking a shit.
Although I prefer to think of it more like childbirth.
Trust me. It's like taking a shit.
As he can constantly be seen feeling lost, empty, frustrated, and just flat out exhausted from the therapy sessions with Dr. Melfi. As in Tony's eyes, the therapy sessions all have a similar feel to them, and that is with the themes of childhood trauma, his relationship with his mother, his relationship with his Uncle Junior, his sex and marriage life, and the anxiety that comes with being in the mafia. So there is no question that he certainly feels tapped out when it comes to therapy. Tony has gone to therapy for what seems to be 5 or more years throughout The Sopranos' runtime.
I've been coming here, 5 years now, and you still don't understand what it means to tape somebody in my family?
However, with the hundreds or even thousands of therapy sessions that Tony has had, he never truly commits to any future change. He never fully progresses into being a better individual in society, or even with his family and within his marriage, until he gets shot by his Uncle Junior. As after this incident, Tony takes every day as a gift. Unfortunately, this mindset doesn't last very long. However, during this time, we do see Tony improve as an individual and being a better person in therapy and in life.
Why should I give a shit if a guy's got a clear head? I should say, salute, good for you.
It's 2006. There's pillow biters in the Special Forces.
And in the 10th episode of Season 6, titled Mo and Joe, we see a rare version of Tony becoming a better individual. This is seen with the therapy sessions in this episode, as the two constantly bicker back and forth over Tony's repressed childhood, as Dr. Melfi brings up that Tony and Janice used to play house growing up in the back of Satriali's. As she later implies that maybe growing up, Tony was attracted to his sister, just like what she said earlier on in the series with Tony being attracted to his mother. Dr. Melfi says this because Tony reflected on Janice's youth, saying how she was built and how guys would trade Tony baseball cards growing up and buy him chocolate bars just to score with his sister. And then in this therapy session, we see an interesting scene where Tony displays a ton of emotion reflecting on his youth, his mother, and Janice.
Then it trips over, and she's back, and she's one of us, and she wants her piece. Well, let me tell you, she gets nothing, because I got the scars, so it's mine.
It's here in this scene where Tony almost acts as a child back home in the Soprano family living room, where Tony ultimately says that enough is enough, as he points to his chest almost like he's a child. Throughout the multiple therapy sessions that showcase Tony discussing his childhood and growing up with his mother, we have never seen him react in such a passionate and emotional way than we do here. This scene reveals just how emotionally and physically damaging growing up with Livia and Janice was for Tony, as all he has is scars and at times cannot seem to reflect on any positive memories growing up. Growing up with two individuals who caused Tony a tremendous amount of anger, frustration, rage, and stress could possibly be the reasoning for why he does what he does and the result of his actions that we see throughout the series. It's perhaps Livia and Janice are the reasoning for Tony lying, cheating, manipulating, and being the evil and narcissistic person that he is. After all, we saw immediately when Janice was introduced to the series the level of concern that she raised for Tony. Or maybe the scars that Tony was referring to is the scars of being in the mafia and the strain that it puts on him. Whether it's the killing, stealing, lying to his family, and virtually anything Tony has ever done is a scar that rests on his soul, as he had to suffer growing up with his devil of a mother, as Janice ventured off into her adolescent years of a happy stoner roaming the back roads of the United States. In many ways, this is the reasoning why Tony holds so much resentment towards his sister. It was Tony who joined the family business, it was Tony who put up with Livia's nagging, it was Tony who tried to help his mother the best way he could in season 1, and it was Tony who was almost killed by his very own mother. So with all of this is why Tony's mindset always feels that he is entitled over his sister, because underneath it all, there's the regrets Tony has in his mind, that he had to commit all of these acts and put up with Livia to ultimately be who he is in life. But going back to the progress that we've seen Tony make as a result of his therapy, and primarily in his therapy sessions with Dr. Melfi, the Tony in the beginning of the series would never hem and haw like he did once he got out of his coma. We watched as Tony wouldn't take Phil up on his offer, and he chose to not respond with violence. He thought about giving Vito a second chance once he returned back home to New Jersey, and tried to steer Jason in the best possible way when it came to selling Barone Sanitation. As these are all resolutions that Tony had never would have considered had he not had an outlook on life thanks to his coma. It's almost as if Tony uses his childhood and the trauma, teasing, and pain that he faced as an excuse to indulge into things that are in no way meant for himself, such as weaseling his way into Eugene's inheritance money from his grandmother and meeting with Juliana Skiff for the Jamba Juice business deal, as this is all due in part to the gluttony and greed that Tony embraces so much throughout the series. Therapy for Tony was often reflecting on his childhood, and another important episode that does this is Season 1's Episode 7, Down Neck. Here as well, Tony reflects on his youth and how it was different growing up being a soprano, and realizing the first time that his father and family life in general was different than others. And we also return to Tony reflecting on his youth in the 3rd episode of Season 3, titled Fortunate Son, where Tony looks back on his first ever panic attack. In conclusion to this video, while we do see Tony make tremendous strides in therapy sporadically throughout the series, deep down inside, we all know that he will never change being who he is, and that growing up a soprano was always in Tony's blood. I would love to hear your thoughts about this topic down in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to click like and click the subscribe button. As always, for more Sopranos content, keep it locked here, right here on this channel.